transform lives. They are bridges from your current self to your best self. And who better to show you the way to the top than those already there? Welcome to the book I'm reading, a weekly sit down with accomplished Nigerians where we find out what they are currently reading and how that book shapes their worldview. My name is Richard Mofe-Damijo, and I'm your host with the most. So my guest today is actor extraordinaire, film producer, writer, teacher, and over and above every other description that has been given to this lady, the one and my personal favorite is Nigeria's collective aunty. Have you ever heard that? Nigeria's collective aunty.
Yes.
Joke Silva. Some people will insist on Joke Jacobs, but today we're going to just we'll wing it. Joke Silva, Jacobs,
because whichever.
Nigeria's collective aunty. Have you ever heard yourself described like that before?
Yes, I have. It's been a long time since I heard that, but it's so true. Thank you, RMD, for that introduction.
Thank you. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
So this is so incredible. Whoever thought that I would be on this side, of the table interviewing you on the radio show on the book that you are reading, and who wrote it and why you were reading the book.
Okay, thank you. Once again, thank you for having me, RMD. That collective aunty thing, that's
it's still marinating in that.
So many, and you know what tends to happen? I remember when I was 50 and somebody went, but I've been calling you Auntie Joke forever. And the person discovered they were like 5 years older
than you. Oh my God. It's the movies, right? Yeah, it's amazing how the movies can make us look like. In my case, they think I'm younger.
Okay.
Yes, they just
so
go, I'm the how now. And then when I was 60, a lot of the people, even politicians, when I went to serve in the state that I used to greet like my elders, they were like, but you see all since, you'll be 60 years. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Nigeria's collective aunty is just a young girl who has been played. It's incredible. You've played my girlfriend, you've played my wife, you've played my mother. So I think this whole collective aunty thing comes from your ability to just morph into anything you want to be. From young girl, old girl,
girlfriend,
and to think that you're like my baby sister because you're so much younger.
Claire.
Joke, by the way, is so much younger than me.
He's July, I'm September. Don't mind him.
She just turned 60 the other day. So young lady, welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The book I'm reading.
Thank you.
So tell us what book you're reading and why you're reading the book.
I'm reading a book called My Mother's Daughter, written by Chief Mrs Taiwo Taiwo.
I like that name.
It's a beautiful
Chief
name.
Mrs Taiwo Taiwo. Is it that her husband is also a twin?
No, her husband's family name is Taiwo.
Oh.
Yes, and then she is a twin.
Okay.
Yes, so
Mrs.
she's a Taiwo of the twins, yes.
Yeah, so before you answer another question, answer this one first. Are you, Joke Silva, are you your mother's daughter?
Definitely.
What does it mean when she said, what does the writer mean? Why my mother's daughter?
I think for me, that was really the attraction of the book as well, because I'm very much my mother's daughter. I'm very much a mother's girl, even though I was a daddy's girl, but I was very much a mommy's girl.
What does it speak of when somebody says I'm my mother's daughter? Is it that I did everything my mother wanted me to do or expected me to do, or lived her dream, or I am the product of what she would have wanted to see? Is that what it speaks of? Because I
think it's more of that, the last one, a product of what she would like to see. It's not so much that our mothers lived vicariously through us, but that our mothers understood the kind of women we were, the kind of girls we were to become, and they helped to shape the kind of women we became, because they understood the girls we were. And that's what you find in
Please say that again. That's so sweet. So it's like rap in my ears.
Like that our mothers understood the girls we were and helped to shape the women we became. I can explain that in my own case as a young girl, my mother understood that I loved to perform. And every single school that herself and my dad chose for me, they chose because they had something to do with drama. So whether it was St. Xavier's School Ikoyi, whether it was Holy Child College, whether it was Wentworth Milton Mount, all of them had something to do with performance, So even though they wanted me to be a performer as a hobby, as something that I was passionate about, and then have a serious profession on the side, you understand?
In case one fails.
Just in case, But when I now yarried for them and rebelled for them and jumped the fence of our house because they wouldn't let me go for recording at NTA way back then, they just say, okay, you want to go, okay, you want to do this job, fine, go and train for it. But my mother's daughter, for her, in the case of Chief Mrs Taiwo Taiwo, her mother was an incredible businesswoman. And in the book, she tells us how, the mother, she's one of eight children. And the mother was into all kinds of businesses. She used to trade in, especially in fabrics, ashoke and lace, and yes, all that kind of fabric. And she used to send the twins out, Taiwo and Kende. Taiwo and Kende are girls, and she would send them to the people who owed her money. Now,
they were collectors.
Yes, they were the debt collectors. Now, Sis Taiwo, as I fondly call her, would sit down. No matter whether the people she went to collect the debt from would be going up and down. Oh my, how we say in Yoruba, my uncle, and to the children, greet them, but never face the fact that they were there to collect the
money.
debt and walk past her. But she was known for she would never be rude, but she would never leave. She was that stubborn.
Yes.
She would just sit down there until you were ready. And it was like, here's the money.
Take,
just go.
Tell your mother I said hello.
That kind of
I don't come back here.
But she wouldn't come back without taking back home something. Whereas her twin was a more quiet. Once she asked, please, my mommy said I should call for the money. Tell your mommy I don't have the money. Okay,
I'll go back.
And you go back. Sister Taiwo would sit down there and wait for the money to be paid. So that the mother, realizing that she had that kind of spirit, then involved her in more businesses. So whether they were turning at that time, the Shonibare estate, they had this lovely house that they then turned into a hotel, Maryland Hotel, and then from there they created what was known as Beachcomber in there.
Oh, Beachcomber, is that the family, the Beachcomber?
Yes, so she was a manager of all that. The mother made her manage all those things, and then at one point they now built a place called the mother was one who purchased all the land, and this land has an interesting story behind it. One of the plots of land belonged to my family, known as Elephant House. It was built by my great-grandfather, S.H. Pierce. And the family were prepared to sell it, but they said that it was pretty arrogant. Because there were other plots of land around that they bought. But this particular family, the PS family, said, well, the only reason we'll sell it to you on one condition, that whatever you build there must be called Elephant House. Because my great-grandfather, he built the house, called it Elephant House, because he made his money from selling elephant tusks in Calabar.
Oh.
Yes. He started, he was a young professional. The profession, it didn't work out too well. So he left Lagos, went to Calabar and started this trading in elephant tusks. And he did so well. Then came back and built this incredible edifice that went into, it's in several books on buildings in Lagos. So, so the mother went and bought all this land and then took the papers and said, I've purchased all this land now, go and build, go and build this edifice. And she's like, I beg your pardon.
How am I supposed to
do that? And what the book does is that it not only does it give you a history of Lagos of that time, but it also gives you, the real estate. How do you put together funds to build something like that? And she, how she was able to bring together a consortium of banks to
what year was
raise
this?
70s. Yes, something like that. Earlier, I think.
Okay.
Yes, it was around that time. I can't really remember the year. It's in the book. And she raised it, and it was one of the first times that you would get the consortium of banks to put up a building like that. But what was also interesting was that she's vulnerable enough. A lot of times when these people of her generation, she's 10 years older than me, when they write about those days, they kind of paper over some of the challenges that they faced. She didn't. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She didn't. It was like, okay, she's about to set about, she's at a critical stage of everything, and then one of the funders pulls out. I'm sure that has happened to you now.
Oh, over and over.
Over again.
Oh, in fact, some wait till the day of launch, and they say, "Oh, sorry, we've had a rethink," and then you'll be scampering from
pillar to post, And she gives a beautiful description of how, this guy says he's not going to give them the money, and she, she goes to her mom and she said, "Look at what I'm facing," and the mother says, "Okay, oh yeah, let's go and see him. Let's go and see him at home." And immediately they get there, they see the man, the MD of the bank. The mother sizes him up and tells her and says, "He's not going to give you anything, let's leave." Just from about first two sentences, she says she's not going to give you anything, let's leave.
Wow, that's incredible insight.
Yes, and she said she learned from that too, that, don't spend too much time on something that's a negative. Just go to the next one. Just go to, because there will be a positive at the end of the tunnel. So so that's my mother's daughter. I mean, it talks about also the her father was a politician. Oh. So it talks about the politics of that time as well. She also went to school in England, and it talks about, as a young girl going to England and the racism that you experience. I think all our children have experienced it, and it makes me think that it's about it. The West needs to understand how much places like Africa and India and other Asian countries have contributed to their development, if only through education, getting their children educated. Yes.
You have, your life sort of mirrors some aspects of her life. You went to England as a young girl as well. Did you have you ever experienced racism?
Plenty. and then I was even luckier because she went at I think around the age of 8 or 10, something like that. That early. I didn't go till I was 15. So she was
probably oblivious to some of it.
No, that was what was very interesting. She could not articulate it. But she experienced it. It was like she said, that little black boy, that poem by, I can't remember who it was, that says that, I wish my soul is white, I'm just black. How do you get a black person to read that? That is just it's like Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. That makes you say, but he's not a Jew. Why? He's not a Jew. This is not. The racism is just incredible.
When I got to understand Soyinka's telephone conversation, it just, like light bulbs were just going on in my head because I have experienced racism without even knowing that was what it was at the time.
Yes.
Because you can meet the subtlest and the slyest type of it, and that's the most.
That's the British.
Oh my goodness, that can rile. Oh my goodness.
The American one will tell you to your face. Yes.
So, tell me if I'm right. If I'm my mother's son, you know, I see like an equivalent of it. My mother used to always say to me, and I say it all the time when I relate my story, and she says, "Remember whose son you are, or remember whose child you are." So I guess that's them saying, you know, I have to see you in a particular light. So so I got to see you. This book, do you have a favorite quote from it? Or a passage?
You know, this favorite part of the book that I like is because it just resonates so well with me. I know it's going to create a lot of controversy, but it's really what I feel.
Well, it's in the public space already.
I know.
Read it anyway. Perform it for us, you performer.
What it is that, you know, there was a time, I'm sure you'll remember, when after the capital moved to Abuja.
Yes.
And, you know, the powers that be just decided that that's it. They were not interested in Lagos anymore. And, you know, everything was just falling to ruins. Mm-hmm. And one of the places that fell to ruins was this area of Lagos Island. And all the big businesses were moving to Victoria Island. Now, this young woman had just built an iconic building of almost like over 20, you know, I think they're about 17 stories or something, with lift, everything, you know. And people, you know, just about getting people to rent the place, and then area boys, like, you know, took over the place. And she said she was driving to work one day, and she saw a pig eating from a pile of rubbish on her way to work, not too far from her building.
Oh dear.
And she goes to the seller of plantain of Boli near her, talks to that, and that one tells her that, you know, even some of the women, you know, a lot of the people she's not even getting customers as she used to, because a lot of the people who used to buy, they moved to Victoria Island, because a lot of the women too were getting raped in car parks, you know, on their way home from, you know, by all these. So what did she do? She now came together with a group of people who had buildings on Lagos Island, and they came together as a group, as a pressure group on the government, all right? And part of what they had to do was to investigate, you know, what are the laws that exist. Part of the things that I liked about it was that we came back 6 weeks later, and what a phenomenal amount of data our group of professionals had amassed. We discovered, to the shock of all of us, that the Lagos Island local government had some of the most robust and stringent laws on every aspect of standard environmental laws, antisocial behavior, and general good neighborliness in the world. They had existing laws that banned spitting on the street. It was wide and all-encompassing, leaving nothing to the imagination. So they got together. They all came together, and what they wanted, they set out their goals, the rules of, you know, what they wanted, and we set out very clear goals for ourselves to be achieved by a specific time. They included sensitizing, organizing, and mobilizing the private sector, as facilitating the relocation of Akwambon under bridge bus stop to eliminate traffic chaos, facilitating routing of commercial vehicles, donated one patrol van and towing vehicle, and installation of Motorola radio system for traffic monitoring, donation by African Petroleum to LASMA, and street cleaning of Inner Marina for 1 year by Union Bank. So they did all that. Now, the part that I find very interesting is this. I think this is it. we... Oh, sorry. Yes, okay, it's here. So they go, and the governor of the time was Tinubu. Very quickly, we caught the attention of the Lagos state government with our strategic, relentless media campaign. The governor called us to a meeting at his office, and as I always did, I introduced our powerful list of formidable members. And the governor says he stopped me before I could continue saying he just stopped me before I could continue saying the owners of Lagos. Yes, Your Excellency, I said, not missing a beat. And we are no longer prepared to tolerate the breakdown of law and order on Lagos Island. Watch our tenants terrified of being harassed and raped by gangsters. My final coup de grace always deliberately included some drama for special effects. When we invested the billions of naira, which we all had done in the CBD, Central Business District, we were not warned that government planned to abandon it and turn it into a rubbish dump. We want our money back. I ended in the manner I had learned from Margaret Thatcher. Following series of meetings with the different relevant government ministries, the governor of the day, His Excellency Governor Tinubu, who without a doubt is one of the smartest, insightful visionaries we have ever had as governor of Lagos, despite his flaws. Is there any amongst us without flaw? Decided that this was a group the government should work with and together achieve our goals for a better Lagos.
Wow. You know the truth about the marina, the inner marina and the marina area is that that is supposed to be our our city, our downtown,
Not only our downtown, it's like our Côte d'Azur. It's like, it's where, can you imagine having the marina, having all these buildings? This should be the place of the prime real estate.
Rashid Balamose, God bless him, before he died many years ago as a young boy when I was in PEC, he really liked me, and I used to, when he shared the vision of what the that Nikon area, that's like our Broad Street area where all the theaters will be, police patrol 24. I hope and I pray that as governments evolve, that this Lagos will evolve to the point where the original dream of that whole Campbell Street Marina area will be found, will be realized again someday. Look, this I will read this book immediately, and thank you for the copy, by the way.
You're welcome.
Though I had to
wrestle
out of you, but I'll read it because I love the history of old Lagos. I've read something about Madam Tinubu and all that, so I really love reading about old Lagos. Who would you recommend this book to?
I'd recommend this book to anyone who wants to understand the politics of Nigeria. I'd recommend it to anyone who wants to understand also about real estate, how to invest in real estate. And also recommend it to anyone who wants to effect change through a pressure group, because that was one of the things that, this is somebody who not only this group later metamorphosed into what you would call LIMG. She's also someone who, there's another pressure group, well, not a pressure group, an NGO that she set up in memory of her late daughter, as a way of dealing with grief. So there's that there about it as well. If you're someone, because sometimes when when you go through that, when that grieving process, as Africans, especially when it comes to the loss of a child, as Africans, we're not very good with it. You know, there are things that we say to try and help us. In Yoruba, we say, "Oh, omiloda no keregbe for," meaning that it's water that has passed, but the mechanism for making a child is still intact. Okay, but that doesn't take care of the emotional,
of everything
of
else that you have to
else
deal
that
with.
you're
You've gone through it, so yes,
Exactly.
you know you understand this.
Exactly. And then there's also the area that we will sometimes try and deal with it from a religious perspective, where you can see that this child is dying. You can see that this child is not going to survive. And then you are there saying, "Oh, you will survive." Okay, fine. That's faith. All right.
Yeah, but do the needful first. Do the basic things that common sense tells us to do. Yes.
And then also help the person prepare.
Yeah.
Because we're not God.
Yeah.
There's that. We in exercising our faiths at times we pretend that we know God. We don't. We understand slices of him. Do you understand? So there are times when we're saying, yes, this child will survive, but hey, the child may not. In his wisdom, he understands why he's taking that person. He may be away. Do you understand? And so one of the things that we've done with the Out of Life Foundation is that we help people, especially those who have, for any kind of trauma. That's what we do in the Art of Life, any kind of trauma, but especially the loss of a child. We create a safe space for you to be vulnerable and to help you on that journey to recovery so that you can take your life back and move forward. So she describes all that in the book as well.
Amazing. Yes. Amazing. Taking your life back.
Yes.
Look. The show is not over yet,
okay.
Not by any means.
Okay.
I'd like to switch things around.
Okay, no problem.
We went a bit heavy there, and I was just having goose flesh as you're talking.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's part of life. It's the circle of life. We have to deal with it.
Exactly.
But when we come back, we're going to play a game. Just a short game.
Yes. Okay.
No, okay. Just a little game. Question with multiple choices and all that. About banking. Old Lagos.
Okay. I'll try.
All right, people. We'll go on a break and we'll come back and we'll play a game.
Let me introduce a new wave, we change the rules. A new app that you can use. Wanna change your life, then choose. Save money and invest. Pay bills when you decide. Safe and secure for you. When you need a loan, request it. One bank for you, one bank for me. So chill and enjoy the ride. Stop the current account and leave one bank.
One bank by Sterling. Open a current account and start transacting.
All right, so we are back, and I'm still your host, and we are still talking about the book you're reading, and I'm still sitting with actor, film producer, mentor, collective aunty. Joke Silva. So I'm going to ask you some questions. You know, we usually on this segment we take questions from a book called The Truth About Banking, right? So, Joke, question number 1. Which of the following is not categorized as a type of bank in Nigeria? Or, yes, as I repeat the question, which of the following is not categorized as a type of Nigerian banks?
Okay.
Yeah? A, commercial banks. B, industrial banks. And C, mortgage banks. That is generally not considered like a Nigerian thing. Okay? Commercial banks. A. B, industrial banks. C, mortgage banks.
Okay. I will do it by process of elimination. Commercial banks we have.
Of course.
Mortgage banks we used to have.
Okay.
Now, do you still have? I think they've introduced something similar. Now, the one I don't know is this industrial bank. Do we have that? I mean, which industry is the industrial bank? It sounds like there used to be a bank, but no more existing. So I will go industrial bank.
Well, Joke, if you had said commercial banks, I mean, that would have been an obvious no.
No, yes,
because we have it.
We have commercial
it's Nigerian
banks, yes.
If you had also said mortgage banks, I would have said, oh, but we've had mortgage banks. Industrial banks, yeah, we've had, like you said, you know, but indeed you are correct. Get me a bell. I have to be ringing bells for when people get... We are talking to our collective aunty here. Okay. All right. So question 2.
Yes.
When was the Central Bank of Nigeria's Act replaced? This one is tough. Even me, I can't lie. When was the Central Bank of Nigeria Act replaced with the Banking Act?
I haven't got the forget idea. How am I supposed to be? Am I a banker?
So we'll do Tubu Mensa.
Okay.
So A is 2019. B is 1985. And C is 1969.
Okay. Run it by me again.
Okay.
When
was the Central Bank of Nigeria Act replaced with the Banking Act? It's just like an update. 2019, 1985, and 1969. I like your process of elimination. So, or would you like to call a friend?
Friend, I'm going to call. There's no phone here. You know, that 1985 seems too far, but 2019 now sounds too close. You know, so because that's I need.
No, there's 1969. No, so 1985 is not further away than
1969. I know that there was something that they did with the banks.
Okay. You are not confusing the Indigenization Act.
No, you know that time when all those banks came together and everything.
Okay.
Please, I don't know. Guys, I don't know.
Okay, well.
1969.
And she's correct again. Hey, give me.
Do you know why? Because he said that 1969 after I said 1985. He was like, he said 19. You are forgetting 19. I said, okay, maybe that's the answer.
You are correct.
Hey.
So
that's 20. That's what $20,000.
I don't know. I don't know how much that will be, but please remind me to talk to Sterling Bank. Yes, about this.
I've got 2 of the questions.
2 out of 2.
Is it only 2 questions?
Just 2 questions.
No. Sterling Bank. That's it. Oh yeah. I'm coming for my money.
In fact, after
I'm coming
today,
for my money.
There must be a way we have to reward people who have.
Not after today. Starting from today.
Today, yes. There must be a way we can reward people who get the questions. What's the point of asking the question
and then
for playing sake?
It's for the playing.
At 60.
A hard question like that.
At 60.
At 60.
For somebody who just turned 60. You know, young girls must be encouraged in their journey.
I like that young girl for this time.
But you don't look 60. You are an incredible. Look, just to thank you for the work you do and the passion with which you do it, and having the power of longevity. To stay there.
We both have it now.
Yeah, thank you for coming through. There's something, because we talk about books, and I know that this is an area that you like and all that. There's something I always ask my people. Do you think we write enough? Because there's one thing to say Nigerians don't read, but do you think there are enough Nigerian books that do you think we write enough?
I don't think there's any civilization that writes enough. I mean, there's always so much. I mean, they said it in that if they wrote all the books, if they wrote about everything that Christ did, it would fill the entire world. That there was just so much that needed to be written. So we could write more. But I think what is even more pressing for us is accessibility. Look I was telling you about my mother's daughter, and you said, where can I get it? Do you understand? All those places where we could buy books. They're not there. Yeah. They're not there. And then even when they are there, they're not accessible. We used to have a Falamo shopping center. Now there was Glendora, there was Quintessence. You knew if I needed to buy any book, let me go to those places. Now there's
Terra Culture.
There's Terra Culture, and then there's this on Awolowo Road from Glendora. It's an offshoot of Jazz Hall. Yeah. But how many people know it? And it's still very elite. I mean, people say it's very elite, but what happened to CMS Bookshop? Do you understand? I mean, there was the Odushote Bookshop where you used to buy books in Yaba.
Well, let me tell you the good news. The technology has democratized the space. There's a young man I spoke to who is trying to get the rights to all these old books. Yes. So if you need a book, for instance, he can actually print you a copy.
Oh, yes. Because the other part too with this digital space is that they now want you to read it on your Kindle, on your Kindle.
As an audio book.
It's not the same.
I know the problem with old people.
Don't record me, but I can sometimes be violent. So it's to be able to read it and then underline somewhere and say, I must come back to this or research this. I mean, I know them; they know how to underline things with that. No, it's not the same as a book.
I absolutely. Yes. The example I give to young people is that, look, aren't we all coming back to vinyl now and playing records in vinyl? So don't worry, don't despise the days of a real book.
Yes.
Because
it's so important.
It will always be important. I love the smell of books. I love to just walk into my library to look at my books, and flip through, see whether there are markings and all that. So yeah.
I remember when there was a time when I set up the study from the place we've moved, just set it up. And my son goes, okay, I know this is your study, but have you read all these books? I said, yes.
And more that are not here.
Yeah, that are not here.
I find it very fascinating. My daughter reads. I was talking to her. In fact, I have to bring her to this show so that people hear her speak. I was talking to her 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she was like, Dad, we were talking about her book I hadn't returned. And she said, Dad, I read 400 pages every Sunday. I'm like, Nicole, you still do that? He said, yes. I must read 400 pages every Sunday.
Oh, wow.
She has an amazing discipline. And I said, she didn't get it from me. More like from my mom.
Yes.
The time was, I've gotten a bit lazy. Shoinka was the one who taught me how to read more than 2-3 books at a time.
Okay.
Put them in strategic places. And don't mix them up. Leave it in the toilet. Leave the one in the car until you finish all.
Yes.
And then you replace.
Yes.
So that sort of helps.
I do that as well. I have one in my car. I will have one in all those places. Yes.
Yeah. I haven't asked anybody this before, but maybe I should start with you.
Yes.
What is your favorite book ever that you've ever read? What's your favorite book ever?
Oof.
If you could name one or two, Seth.
I think I should take it from.
It could even be a school text. Whatever.
No, there are just so many, because if I look at
one for every decade,
almost like that, I mean, one that comes to mind is A Woman of Substance.
Oh.
I can't remember the author.
Was
right
it Barbara?
Now. Barbara.
I know that
it will come.
It will come. Yes, I know that. I know her.
Yes.
Is she the one that has a sister that's an actor?
I don't even know whether her sister was an actor.
Yes, one of those authors of The Woman of Substance.
Yes,
you know,
she wrote A Woman of Substance. I've read all her other books. I don't think any other book matched A Woman of Substance. You know, there's A Woman of Substance.
Wasn't it turned into a film or a series or something?
Yes, it was turned into a film. And then after that, there was a series. And then after that, you know, some of the books she wrote after that were done as films. But A Woman of Substance was the quintessential, you know, it was just a simple novel, but it had such nuggets of wisdom in it, you know, that were. Now there's another writer who is a Christian writer, Barbara Taylor Bradford.
Oh yes, I think it was.
Yes, that's it. Barbara Taylor.
Yes, I got the first name.
Yes, you got it. You got it. Yes, it was Barbara Taylor Bradford. She, you know, and then the other one that I really like is the Da Vinci Code. Although he makes me really angry at the end.
I'm a fan of Dan Brown.
Yes, you know. Now, what annoyed me with the Da Vinci Code was that I enjoyed all the discovery, you know, reading the book and, you know, discovering and everything, you know, and piecing everything.
And
yeah,
everything.
Exactly. You know, that's the word, the symbology. And then getting to the end, and they're saying that Mary and Jesus had a child. I said, "You people, you just spoiled it. It just annoyed me. Why?"
And the genealogy is somewhere in France.
Yeah, you know. I mean, I just thought that is. I thought it was just such a lazy way of ending the book, but it didn't stop my loving the book. Now, the other person that I like is Robert Ludlum.
Oh yeah.
I've read every
thing. So you must love the series that of the films that this.
Oh yes, that
he did the Born Identities.
Yes, and all of them. Oh yes, I've watched them several times.
Yeah,
I love
Matt Damon made a good thing.
Yes, Matt Damon. That's it. Yes, I love Robert Ludlum. I love Leon Uris as well.
Oh my goodness, you're just showing our age.
You know, so I've read. So if we're talking about current writers, one of my favorite writers is she married to a Ransom Kuti? Oh, okay. There's Lola Shoneyin. I like her works. I like Lola Shoneyin's works. I like Bumi Oyinsan's works. Three Women, especially. I mean, Bumi Oyinsan is a poet as well as a playwright, as well as a novelist. But you know, one of her poems that I'll never forget is Two Shanties, where she compared the Tale of Two Shanties, where she compared Morocco and the shanty town in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And she said, and she was just saying that there was nothing that South Africa was doing that Nigeria hasn't done with family. You know, it just kind of opens your eyes to those things. So that's it. I mean, I have a long list, but I'll stop there for now.
Anyway, thank you so much, Joke Silva, Joke Jacobs, our collective auntie, for coming through. I wouldn't commit you to writing a book, but if you do write a book,
I'm writing one now. Yes,
fantastic.
Yes,
fantastic.
It's called #40@60.
Oh, fantastic. #40@60.
Yes.
Please, when you do publish it,
yes,
let us know and we will bring you back here.
Okay.
And it will be a promise fulfilled.
Thank you.
#40@60.
Yes.
By Joke Jacobs. On the shelves very, very soon. Grab your copy then. Joke, thanks for coming through. Listen, guys, we're not done yet. You know, I must tell a story in every episode. So when I come back, I'll be telling you a story. Joke, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Let me introduce a new way we change the rules. A new app that you can use. Wanna change your life, then choose. Save money and invest. Pay bills when you decide. Safe and secure for you when you need a loan. Request it. One bank for you, one bank for me. So chill and enjoy the ride. Stop the call and the company. One bank.
One bank by Sterling. Open a current account and start transacting.
So, it's story time again. Here goes. Agitation for financial inclusion by enterprising Nigerians prompted a series of government policies that introduced several legal requirements for the establishment and operation of banks in Nigeria. Among these legislations, the Companies Act of 1968 made it compulsory for foreign companies operating in Nigeria to be incorporated in the country. This also established that any company wishing to operate business in Nigeria had to be incorporated in Nigeria and subject to the provisions of Nigerian company law. Nigerian banks fall into these categories: commercial banks, microfinance banks, merchant banks, mortgage banks, development banks, urban development banks. If the banking sector were a human body, commercial banks would be its heart. They accept deposits and provide retail and long-term lending. A really simple way to think of them is that they collect from those who have and those who have need. The CBN Act was amended multiple times until it was repealed and replaced with the Banking Act of 1969. The new Banking Act brought new rules. For instance, application for licenses had to be in writing, routed through the central and prospective banks needed to be incorporated in Nigeria. In 1961, the Phillips Hill Nigeria Limited and the Nigerian Acceptances Limited were set up as merchant banks. In 1969, they both merged to become the Nigeria Acceptance Limited. Between 1973 and 75, 4 other merchant banks were established. In October 1976, the government of Nigeria formulated a policy forcing foreign-owned companies to sell into Nigerian ownership. Citibank, a major bank in the country, decided to leave the country rather than give in to government demands. Citibank liquidated the loan and lease portfolio amounting to $60 million. Other foreign banks decided to remain and sold the required 60% of equity shares to the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Let me introduce a new wave, we change the rules. A new app that you can use. Wanna change your life, then choose. Save money and invest. Pay bills when you decide. Safe and secure for you when you need a loan. Request it. One bank for you, one bank for me. So chill and enjoy the ride. Stop the current account and need one bank.
One bank by Sterling. Open a current account and start transacting.
We have come to the end of today's show. And as usual, I will leave you with a quote. This one is from Igoni Barrett's novel, Black Eyes. Listen to this. I quote, "No one asks to be born, to be black or white or any color in between, and yet the identity the person is born into becomes the hardest to explain to the world." End quote. Before we go, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, RadioNow Studio, and text TBIR to 08096 822 595 on WhatsApp to join our book club. Today, you and I spoke with actor and producer Joke Silva, who is currently reading My Mother's Daughter by Chief Mrs Taiwo Taiwo. What book is next? Oh, you have to find out in the next episode of the book I am reading. The book I am reading is brought to you by RadioNow 95.3 FM and supported by Sterling Bank. And I'm your host, probably with the most, Richard Mofe-Damijo. See you next time. And we are out.